In this video, we'll walk you through how to install and get started with 2C8 apps. Follow these simple steps, and you'll be ready to start using the application in no time. As a 2C8 apps customer, you should have received helpful links to guide you through the setup process. If you haven't received this information, you can visit support.2c8.com, where you'll find everything you need, including download links and help articles. Before you can log in to 2C8 apps, you'll need to activate your account. You should have received an invitation email from 2C8. If not, please contact the 2C8 administrator in your organization or reach out to our support team. Click the link in the email to confirm your invitation. Once that's done, you'll receive a second email to complete the activation. Open the new email, click the link, and set your password. Make sure to save your password, as you'll need it to log in to 2C8 apps. You'll now be logged into the 2C8 portal, our user portal where you can manage your account. If you'd like to learn more about the 2C8 portal, there's a separate Getting Started guide available under Resources on 2C8 Academy. Once your account is activated, the next step is to install 2C8 apps on your computer. Download the application and run the installer. Please note that administrator rights may be required to complete the installation. If you're unable to install the application yourself, you might need to contact your IT department for assistance. When the installation is complete, open 2C8 apps and log in using your credentials. You're now ready to start working in 2C8 apps. If you encounter any issues or have questions, our support team is always here to help. Good luck. Welcome to 2C8 apps, a simple yet powerful modeling tool that helps you visualize and understand your organization. From high-level strategies to the smallest details, 2C8 apps enables you to create a clear and engaging picture of how your organization works. Whether you're building robust management systems or working on business development, 2C8 apps can be adapted to suit a wide range of needs. Using graphical models and objects, you can clarify your processes, structures, and goals while answering key questions like, how do we work? Who does what? How do we do it? And why do we do it? 2C8 apps is designed to make modeling both intuitive and accurate. With built-in methodology support, you can follow established frameworks that help you create valuable models and improve your operations. This support is integrated into the application, giving you everything you need to start modeling according to the 2C8 method from day one. One feature that supports this is something we call Quick Draw, a smart tool that helps you place the right objects in the right place on your modeling canvas. By following the method and reusing objects, you can get even more out of your models. Object reuse allows you to identify which activities a role is responsible for, or which processes involve a specific system. This not only saves time, it also gives you a complete overview. With web publishing, you can easily share and make your models accessible, both internally and externally. Everything becomes easy to find and understand for everyone who needs it. The models are available online and can be viewed without a 2C8 apps license. You control who has access, for example, through an intranet or a public link. This way, employees can always find guidance on how tasks should be performed and which routines apply. Enhance your models with lists and matrices to compile information and gain a clear overview. Perfect for analyzing complex data and discovering connections that might otherwise go unnoticed. With 2C8 apps, you get a tool that not only helps you visualize your organization, but also supports you in developing it. Whether you work independently or in a team, 2C8 is your partner for a smarter, more transparent organization. Discover how 2C8 apps can help you structure, analyze, and share your business knowledge starting today. When you start working with 2C8, it can feel like there are a lot of parts to keep track of. That's why we're taking a minute to sort out What's what in the 2C8 world? 2C8 Apps is a program you install on your computer. It's important to remember this is not a web page, but a program you need to open from your computer. 2C8 Apps includes both 2C8 Modeling Tool and 2C8 Lite. 2C8 Modeling Tool, the complete tool where you create, edit, and manage your models and have access to full functionality. 2C8 Lite, a simpler version with limited functionality, where the focus is on creating and managing your models. It is in 2C8 Apps, whether you have 2C8 Modeling Tool or 2C8 Lite, that the actual modeling takes place. 2C8 Portal is our web service. Here you manage your account, users, and licenses. This is also where you log in to activate 2C8 Apps for the first time. But the actual modeling is done in the application on your computer, not here. Support.2c8.com is our help center. Here you'll find guides, FAQs, technical documentation, and smart tips, from how to install the tool to how to work methodically with models. And if you get stuck, contact our support directly from the site. 2C8 Academy is our training platform. Here you will find films and training courses that help you get started and deepen your knowledge of 2C8 Apps. Under Resources, you will find all free material. You log in with the same account you use for 2C8 Apps. And finally, our website, 2c8.com. Here you can read more about our products, our services, upcoming events, and about us as a company.
What is a process? A series of actions that you take in order to achieve a result. Examples could be how we solve a problem, handle deliveries, develop a product, lead state projects, or wash clothes. Let's take the process of washing clothes as an example. We have a basket full of dirty clothes. Our client have a need of clean clothes. The dirty clothes are objects that need refinements. In other words, things or service we want to develop or change. It is the need that initiates the process. The results we are after is clean clothes, which also becomes our output. To achieve the wanted output, clean clothes, we need to perform a couple of activities. Our first activity needs to be sort the laundry, which gives us the result, piles of dirty clothes. Next activity is to load the washing machine that results in wash machine loaded and ready to start. Followed by start the washing machine. The result we get is wet clothes. I may not be a fashionista, but I know that putting wet clothes on yourself is not desirable. That is why we have the activity hang clothes. Our last activity in this process is to fold the laundry with the result, clean folded clothes are ready for pickup. Wonderful! We now have a process on what we do when washing clothes. Next step is to add who performs the activities and how the activities should be performed. But we'll save that for another time. If we take a cute step back and take a look at our wash process, we can clearly see that this process is connected with the process of receiving laundry and delivering laundry, which are the main process in Lulu's Laundry. This user-friendly tool will help you manage or organize complex systems. Visualizing processes is just one of many things you can do with our powerful 2C8 apps. You can find out more on how 2C8 apps can benefit your business at our website 2c8.com. A model is a representation of something that exists, such as a cell in our body, or something that may not exist, such as a scale model of a house to be built. Models are used to help us communicate more easily to talk about something we can't see. With business models, it is the same thing, but here we depict something abstract, for example, a process or an organization. With 2C8 apps, you can create different types of models. In this video, we'll take a quick tour of some of the most common models in 2C8. In a party model, we put the business in the middle and list the parties around the business. An interested party in this case is a group that makes demands or has need for the business. Many times the business has counter demands on the interested party. The beauty of models created in 2C8 is that they are linked to other models. If we move on to the next model, we see that the customer from the previous models is also included here. A process model describes the organization's processes and the results that the organization creates. What is done, who does it, and how it is performed. The process models, which can often be large and complex, can be divided into sub-processes and broken down into several levels. We use roles and positions to show who are responsible performing activities. These objects are also part of the organization, which lead us to our next model. The organizational model shows how the business is structured. For example, it can show which department exists in the company and which roles and position belongs to which department. In Lulu's Laundry, we can see that we have finance, marketing, HR, and production department. We started with the interested party model, and that's actually what we use to create our processes. Party models answer why an activity exists and for whom the result is created. But to detail what the relationship between the business and the interested parties look like, we break down the relationship into a relationship model. The relationship model shows what a specific relationship looks like between the interested party and the business. Thus, we'll look at what needs or demands the party has on the business, but also what goes on between the business and the interested party. In this example, Lulu's Laundry, the customer comes with dirty laundry and the laundry delivers back clean laundry. The requirements of the customers are fast, environmental friendly, and cost-effective laundry. The only requirement the laundry has on the customer is that the pockets are empty of the dirty laundry and that they pay on time. If we now look at these business objects that we visualize in the interested party models, they are the same objects that we find in the process model. Because between dirty laundry and clean laundry, Lulu has its core process. The different types of models can be seen as different sides of a business, where we have access to different perspectives, almost like different sides of a cube. This allows us to look at the business from a process perspective, an organizational perspective, an interested party perspective, etc. No matter which side we choose to study, we're still looking at the same business. For more information, please visit our website 2c8.com.
Hey again! Let's check out some of the most common objects in 2C8 apps. Process? In our first video, we talked about what a process is and why it's useful. The symbol or object for a process looks like this. Simply put, a process is something you do. It's named with a verb and a noun, like wash clothes. As you might remember, a process can be broken down into different levels, each going into more detail about what needs to happen. Here's a breakdown of the wash clothes process. What's this object I see here at the last level? Activity. This is what we call an activity. Just like processes, activities are named using a verb and a noun, like fold the laundry. Now you might be thinking, hold up, wait a minute. What's the difference between a process and an activity? Good question. A process can be broken down into more detailed levels, but activities aren't divided further. You can think of an activity as the most detailed level. It's where you'll find the specific instructions on how to complete the task. Business object. Before you can start a process or an activity, something has to trigger it. A prerequisite, a need, or simply an input. For example, when washing clothes, the input would be dirty clothes. But there's also a need, the desire to get them clean. Similarly, we use the same object to define the output of a process, which is the result. There's always an output after a process or activity, so in this case, it would be clean clothes. We call these inputs and outputs business objects. They're named as nouns, sometimes with an adjective or a status, like a pile of dirty clothes or a paid bill. A business object can also be something more abstract, like an order or the need for a new employee. For interested party, we use the symbol. To be considered an interested party, two criteria need to be met. The person or group, it's almost always a group, must have a relationship with the business. The group or person must have demands on the business, or vice versa. In most cases, both sides have expectations of each other. After all, why would they even have a relationship if they didn't need or expect something from one another? Interested parties can include suppliers, customers, shareholders, authorities, and more. Gateway. In a process flow, different paths may be taken depending on business rules or specific situations. To manage these variations, we use the object called gateway. A gateway divides the process flow into two or more paths, allowing flexibility in decision-making. There are two types of gateways. Or gateway. Let's explore the first type of gateway with a simple example. Lulu needs to determine which clothes can be placed in the dryer. Some clothes can be dried using the machine, while others must be hung manually. To structure this decision, we introduce an or gateway and phrase it as a question. Can we put it in the dryer? If the answer is yes, the clothes proceed to the drying process. If the answer is no, Lulu follows the alternative path of manually hanging the clothes. And gateway. The second type of gateway, the AND gateway, is used when multiple parallel activities need to be performed simultaneously. In other words, activities that can be performed at the same time. For example, while Lulu is cleaning the dryers, Steph can be ironing clothes. This allows different tasks to run at the same time, improving efficiency. Position and roles. Now, how do we determine who performs specific tasks? This is where two important objects come into play, position and role. Position. A position represents a person's primary job title, the job they are officially employed for. Lulu, for instance, is the owner of the laundromat. Steph is employed as a laundry technician. Each person holds only one position. Role. While Lulu is the owner, he also performs various activities and has multiple responsibilities. To reflect this, we use the role object to define his different duties. Lulu washes clothes, dries them, and delivers them. Therefore, his roles could include washer, dryer, and clerk. Steph works primarily at the washing station, so her role is washer. Unlike positions, a person can have multiple roles. Requirements. The requirements object defines the necessary conditions or rules to perform a process or activity. For example, clothes must be washed using eco-friendly detergents. The dryer should never be set to maximum power. Application. The application object is used to specify which software or tools are utilized in different activities. For example, when sending a bill, Lulu Laundromat uses the software Beak Payment. Organization. The organization object defines an organization or department involved in a process. This could be a specific department, such as human resources, or a broader division like marketing. Time. The time object is used to determine when an activity or process should start or end. Additionally, it can indicate when business objects are available. This helps ensure tasks are scheduled efficiently. Targets. The target object represents objectives ranging from small operational targets to long-term strategic aims. It provides clarity on the desired outcomes of a process or activity. Notes. We also use notes to document various insights, including problems, risks, opportunities, strengths, weaknesses. Notes help capture valuable observations that contribute to process improvement. Would you like to learn more about how these objects work together? I highly recommend checking out the courses at academy.2c8.com. They provide in-depth guidance. A link is provided below. Follow these courses and you'll be a pro in no time. Until next time, happy learning. Bye-bye!
In this video, we show you how to create a repository. Feel free to follow along and do the same steps in 2C8 Apps. When you log in to 2C8 Apps, you will first be taken to the repository manager. Here, you can choose whether you want to work locally on your computer or on a server. We recommend that you work locally to familiarize yourself with the tool in this guide, as the content is adapted for your own use. However, when working live against your business, you should always use a server. Whichever you choose, the steps to create a repository are the same. You click on the plus sign and give the repository a name. A repository might sound like a foreign concept, but it's simply a storage place for your models and information. Everything created in a repository can be linked together, meaning you can reuse objects such as roles, systems, and processes. This allows you to create links between the different parts of your organization and easily navigate between them. You can think of a repository as your library for all the models in your organization. To open a repository, double-click on its title. Once opened, you will see at the bottom which repository you are in. To close the repository, you can either click on the cross in the right corner or go to the File menu and select Close Repository. If you have multiple repositories in the repository manager, simply open another one by double-clicking on its name. Let's create a model together. When you're in a repository, you will see all available model types in the model tree. Depending on the type of model you choose to create, your models will be organized under each model type. If you are unsure what the different model types mean, hover over the model name to see a brief description. Select the model type you want to use. Then click on the plus sign and give the model a name. For example, Manage Rental Services. A new tab will now open in the editing area with your empty model. In the toolbar, you will find all the objects and functions that you can use when building your model. As before, you can hover over the symbols to get a short description of each function. You are now going to place a process object on the empty model surface. To place an object on the model surface, click on the object in the toolbar and click again to place it. You should not drag the object, but click on it, move the mouse pointer, and click again. Name the object, for example, Manage Car Rental. Then press Enter. Now you're going to model a simple process. If you haven't already placed a process on the modeling surface, start by adding a process object. The easiest way to build your model is by using Quick Draw. Quick Draw refers to the small arrows that appear when you hover over an existing object. It automatically suggests which objects you can place to the right, left, above, or below the selected one. This feature supports the 2C8 method by guiding you to place the correct object in the right direction based on the selected object. Quick Draw also ensures that objects are spaced evenly and that relationships are created automatically between them. This makes modeling both faster and more structured. Once you've added a process or activity and defined its inputs, it's important to also show the results it leads to. You do this by adding business objects, which are used to illustrate the inputs or outputs of the process. In other words, what the process generates as a result. If a process is extensive, it can be broken down into sub-processes and further into the activity level. In this case, we're choosing to go directly from this level to the activity level, the most detailed level, which describes exactly what we do to achieve the desired outcome. Inputs and outputs are always carried over between levels, which 2C8 Apps manages automatically. Right-click the process object, go to Breakdowns and select Process Model. A new tab will now open, where the inputs and outputs have been carried over from the previous level. This helps you stay within the defined scope of the process, so you don't accidentally model beyond its start or end. You can also add a description to your objects. For example, this could be a short explanation of how an activity is carried out. To add a description, right-click the object and select Properties. This opens the Properties dialog. On the left side, you'll see several panels. Make sure the description panel is selected. Here, you'll find a text editor where you can enter and format your text. For this example, you can write a short sample text just to try out the feature. Then click OK. When you deselect the object, you'll see a small icon with an eye, indicating that the object contains additional information. You can return to the description at any time, either by reopening the Properties dialog or by clicking the description icon that appears when you hover over the object. To add a document to your model, start by opening the Documents panel on the left side of the interface. Here, you have two options: either create a new document directly in 2C8 Apps or link to an existing document, such as one from a document management system or any other web address. If you choose to create a new document, a simple text editor will open, similar to the one used for descriptions. When you're finished writing, click OK, and the document will be added to the list on the left. To link the document to an object in the model, drag it with the mouse and drop it onto the object you want to associate it with. When the object is deselected, a small icon with an eye will appear, indicating that the object contains additional information. You can then open the document either via the object or through its Properties dialog. If you prefer to link to an external document, simply paste a valid URL, for example, to a document in a document management system or on the web. You can also use the Browse option to select a file from your computer. Just remember that files stored locally on your computer cannot be accessed by other users. Also, links to shared folders, known as file links, often do not work in browsers when published, due to browser security settings. In summary, linking to documents that can be opened directly in the browser is usually the simplest and most effective option. To create a list of the contents in your repository, start by opening the Lists panel on the left side of the interface. A few predefined lists are already available here. You can double-click any of them to open them in the editing area. To create a new list, click the plus icon. In the first filter, specify the type of list you want to create. For example, a list of objects, models, or documents. In this example, select Objects. This will display all objects in the repository. You can use the remaining filters to further narrow down the selection. For example, choose to display only activities within the repository. Give your list a name and don't forget to click Save. The list will then be saved and appear in the left panel. Layers in two C8 apps let you control how the content of your models is displayed. For example, when publishing them to the web. Each layer is linked to a specific model type, and each object type can only belong to one layer at a time. To create a new layer, start by opening the model type you want to work with. In the left-hand panel, click on Layers. Then click the plus icon to add a new layer. Give your layer a clear and descriptive name, so it's easy to understand what it contains or is intended for. You can also choose an icon to appear before the title. And finally, select which object type the layer should include. Once the layer is created, you can use the small eye icon to toggle its visibility in the model. It's a simple way to tailor how your models are displayed for different audiences or purposes, while keeping your model clean and easy to follow. In this guide, you have been working locally in the tool to learn the basics. It is also possible to create a local publication, but in that case, the result is only saved as a local file structure on your computer. In production environments, server-based publishing is used instead, making the content available to other users. In this video, we will go through how server-based publishing works and how to set up a web publication. This first part can also be followed and tested locally, since the web profile works the same way, regardless of whether you are working locally or in a server environment. To publish the content of your repository, start by going to the Tools menu and selecting Publish. A list of all available publishing profiles will appear. Since we're creating a web publication, you'll be using a web profile. If you don't already have one, indicated by this icon, you can create a new one by clicking the plus icon. Double-click the web profile to open it. If this is your first time opening the profile, a step-by-step guide will appear to help you understand the interface. If you choose to skip the guide, or if you've opened the profile before, you can always launch it again later by clicking the question mark in the top right corner. Inside the web profile, you control how your content will appear in the published version. For example, which models, layers, menus, logos, and more are included. To be able to publish, the only required setting is to define a start model, the first page that users will see. Choose the model Manage Rental Services. It represents the overall process and ensures that the entire process hierarchy is included in the publication. The web profile offers many ways to customize your publication, but selecting a start model is enough to get going. As you hover over different areas of the profile, you'll see which parts are editable. To make changes, click Edit at the top right of the highlighted section. You can also click Preview to see how the publication will look. From there, you can navigate the content just as you would in the final publication. To return and continue editing, just click the Edit tab again. Once you're satisfied with your changes, click Save to update the profile. To make the publication available on the web, a publishing site is required. This is handled through a solution called LiveView. LiveView manages the server publication itself and ensures that content in your repository is synchronized automatically. This step is done in a server environment. and is most often set up together with your IT department. To create a publishing site, you need permissions as both a server administrator and a portal administrator. If you do not have the required permissions, contact a portal administrator in your organization. The live view settings are managed in 2C8 Portal. To access them, go to Servers in the left-hand menu. Hover over the server you want to use, click the 3 dots, and select Configure. In the configuration view, go to Live View, and click Create Publication. Now enter the information for the publishing site. Start by entering a name so it is clear what the publication is intended for. Next, select which repository should be connected to the publication. Since LiveView works with repositories in the server environment, I'm using a corresponding repository on the demo server here. Local repositories cannot be published through LiveView. Then select which web profile should be used. The web profile controls how the content is displayed on the web. The next step is the context root, the part of the web address that identifies your publication. You can see the server address in the link shown at the top. When you enter processes as the context root, the address becomes demo.2c8.com/live/processes. This is the unique address for your publication. Under Access Control, you define how access to the publication should be protected. OIDC, recommended, enables login through single sign-on. This usually requires support from your IT department, since they are responsible for the technical configuration, user management, and the information that needs to be entered here. IP range restriction limits access to specific IP addresses and is normally configured together with IT. Freely available means the publication is completely open without login requirements. Once the publishing site has been created, the models are synchronized automatically. Remember, the web profile controls how the content looks, and LiveView controls where and how it is published. Since the publication is connected to your repository, the content is updated automatically whenever you make changes to the models, as long as they are included in the web profile. If you want to change the content or appearance, you always do so in the web profile. When everything is ready, you can open the publication in your web browser. Here, you can navigate through the processes using the breakdown arrows, and when you click an object, more information is displayed in the panel on the left.